It's time for Cutting Edge Consciousness with Freeman Michaels and Barnet Bain. Thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
Freeman Michaels here with Barnet Bain. And we were just speaking with Natalie Ledwell. Amazing. Amazing stuff. I love the conversation about your own movie and, scripting and directing and producing your own movie as a metaphor for, for the work involved in becoming a conscious dreamer.
I have heard today a bit of wisdom as profound as any as I've ever heard anywhere. I don't care whether it's Lao Tzu or Rumi.
No, that's
bite off more than you can chew and chew like hell.
Then chew like hell.
That's going to be. I'm going to use that everywhere.
That's great.
I just love that.
I love it. So much of what she was talking about is so important. One of the things is the piece of taking an affirmation and finding conscious expression, this element of action, which I think, a lot of people trip on. It's the idea that, I'll just think about it, which is critical, but I also have to find expression for it and a conscious expression. I like practices. That's my big thing, is I generate and create, and I know you do as well, practices. That's a fantastic way to move the inspiration and the affirmation into a material way of moving it, of expressing it out in the world. I also, and I know you like this as well, like ritual, to generate a kind of frequency, the vibratory quality of what it is we want to make manifest in some way. And that's another way. But the big part is to do something with it. It's not enough just to imagine it. You have to actually move into the risky part of putting it out there somehow.
Yeah. And for some, it's per where you are.
Yeah.
Because I think for some people, the imagining is a risk.
Oh, huge. I think you're right.
So it's per where you are. For some people, I know a lot of people who are really comfortable taking action.
Right, the doers. Yeah.
So
they don't stop to imagine.
Per where you are. There are, as you spoke, it struck me that I heard two very different modalities in what you were saying. There is the practice. The practice is connected to, I think, a development of mastery. You go out and you learn how to swing a golf club, where the wrists break and when the waist moves. There's a certain mechanics to it. It's not, or on a surfboard. I'm a surfer. I'm not very good, but I'm passionate. There's a certain there are mechanics.
Yes.
To riding the board and to popping up and to looking down the line. It's not about setting your eye on a target, because it'll never come together. But when you become masterful of the mechanics of each little piece and you are attentive to them, it all comes together masterfully. And this is how I have experienced it in sports and in art making and in creativity. When you pay attention to the little bits of detail, it all just comes together. So that's the first piece. That's practice. The second.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
Just a quick piece about paying attention to the little pieces. One of the big parts about this is understanding what the quality and essence of something is. So often people with vision boards jump to the outcome, which is fine. I don't have a problem with expressing outcomes. But those outcomes just are that outcome or some other outcome doesn't really matter if we understand the quality, the essential quality of what it is we're going for, the little pieces, as it were. Then there's myriad ways to express those little pieces. We're not stuck with one way.
I absolutely agree. I'm making a distinction of what practice is.
Yeah.
What mastery is. It is the developing of the mechanics of something.
Yes.
So when we practice piano or we practice writing or we practice yoga, we are becoming, we haven't used this language for a while, close and tender with elements of something.
Beautiful.
And when you become, when you begin to organize those elements in a complexity, I know how to set this flower in this way, and now I know how to set this arrangement in this way, and pretty soon I know how to organize an entire garden. But you don't just come in and take on the entire garden.
That's a fantastic
One thing at a
distinction.
time.
Yeah, that's
If
beautiful.
you develop mastery, it organically comes together into a bigger system. So that's the practice. That's why people practice music or whatever they're practicing. Then there is the ritual piece.
Huge.
The ritual piece has to do with the quality of meaning that we assign to a practice that we come to with a sense of commitment and purpose and care. And if I ritualize certain behaviors, as Natalie said, I am in a dialogue, in a playful dialogue with a part of my being, the subconscious self, the language of which is visual and play. And it entirely gets engaged in creating a whole new set of mythologies. Mythologies are the lyrical rituals that we select and that we enact in our lives. And if we do them consciously, then we have some authority. We can have some responsibility. For the most part, we are always doing them.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we're doing them without awareness, and we are engaged in lyrical rituals of behavior and practice that are hand-me-downs from outside of ourselves, other people's values, ideas, passions, interests, entertainments, movies, things that we see modeled elsewhere.
Yeah. No, there's something about this, too. I'm going to oversimplify, but just the simple sort of vernacular, this phrase that's used. A lot of young people use this. It's in their lexicon. The idea that I'm feeling it. That is such great language, because what ritual does is it helps us to feel it.
Ritual is about feeling it.
Before we can express it, before we can manifest
Practice
it, for sure.
is about doing it,
Yep.
and ritual is about feeling
That's
it.
Yeah, so the idea that we're really getting into the feeling of it, and then when you're feeling it, it's very easy to express it and essentially manifest it, because you're incoherent with it. You're coherent with it, not incoherent. You're coherent. The energetics, it's coherent. It's a natural expression of what you're feeling.
So where it gets...
It's very believable.
It's believable. Where it gets mysterious.
Oh, that's even
Where
better.
it gets
Let's
all wonderful
turn
and
the volume
mysterious
up.
is that you become masterful. And at some point, the mastery is so elegant. There's so little energy expended for such a tremendous impact that it becomes invisible. It's not that it's not there.
Right.
But it's so seamless that it moves to another level. And so when Natalie was talking about this incredible life, it has it's a different octave of the combination of ritual and practice. What was once upon a time a struggle is now seamless.
I love that.
And so where a practice might look like and might be appropriate at one stage in our development, where something for me may require big outward motions, take action, bold action, make 5 calls. At some point in my life, it became clear that making calls is not the action that I needed to do anymore. I'm masterful at making calls.
Right. That's the push part. That's where we get in the push.
But the action of being willing to do nothing, that is a highly dynamic, active thing. You can't we can't make sweeping statements about what somebody's action should be or what their rituals should be, except to say there are doings and there are beings, and they need to come together in this exquisite kind of alchemy that creates magic.
Yeah, it does. And look, everyone's learning is their own. There's uniqueness in each of us. We each have capacities in one area versus another, and so everyone's got their learning curve. But the point at which there's enough faith, there's enough experience of being able to generate a quality in a given expression, that the mystery is what becomes fun. We said falling in love with the mystery.
You're falling in love with the mystery, falling in love with the uncertainty, falling in love with the dance of it itself, the dance of ritual and practice, the dance of being and doing.
Yeah.
And when it comes together at a particular level of complexity and artistry,
it's magical.
It's magical, and it begins to show up in ways that are powerful models for other. Natalie and Glenn's Mind movies is such a powerful expression of who they are, and is such a powerful tool for us. When I am exposed to that, I see a possibility modeled, and there's a frequency around it that raises all boats. It allows me to sense into where I am in terms of being inspired. How does my inspiration get expressed? How can I ritualize it? And if for people that are tending their mind movie, the tending of a mind movie is a ritual.
I love it.
And the tending of a mind movie is also a practice. So,
I love it. Hey, can I say
juicy,
something?
juicy.
Really juicy. And one of the things, we don't talk about this a lot, Barnet, and I hope that this doesn't make you uncomfortable, but it might. And I get, because you send me a lot of the scripts you're working on, I get to see your work, and I love the evolving story that you're telling. I just want to say that out loud. Folks don't know, because there's been a little delay, but there's some movies that will be coming out. I mean, they got to get shot first, but they're all in the works right now. 3 specifically that I'm thinking of. And each one has this thread of your voice and your imagining and your wandering and wondering and all these pieces. So, look, I think a lot of people look at someone such as you, movie producer, director, and writer, and say, oh, well, he really gets to make the movies, and they don't feel that they have the same skill set. And that's what Mind Movies is doing. It's saying, no, look, you can be the director and the producer and the writer of your own script. And while, Barnet Bain gets to do these things on a much bigger scale, everyone can do it. And so, it's beautiful to have what you're creating and producing, because I'm smiling the whole way as I'm watching you grow and go through it. But it's available to everyone, I think, is the offer. Especially in the way you're talking about it.
I thank you for that. What's so interesting to me is that when I was very young, I wanted to do that more than anything, and I wanted it for very different sets of reasons.
That's the conversation I was wondering if you're going to wander into.
Very different sets of reasons.
Yeah.
And I do it now as a backdrop for what really interests me, which is the art making of my own life.
That's it.
Which is what Natalie spoke to so beautifully. I am more interested in making my life a work of art than I am in making a work of art so I can so I can be validated by other players in my life.
That is huge. And that's actually why I wasn't bringing it up, because it's interesting. It's almost like we don't talk about the films you're working on, which is fine, but in part because it's such I don't know, to me it seems, and I don't want to put this on you, but it seems like such a personal thing. I know it's going to be public.
It's actually not.
Okay, good.
It is as important as everything else that I'm doing.
Yeah, I love that.
We talk about, I was excited because this weekend I did a keynote talk at Pratt & Whitney Rocketdyne. That absolutely lights me up.
I love it.
And I'm doing teaching, and I'm doing consulting and coaching and writing, and it all lights me up as much as doing this show and being with you. I don't really...
This is
have
the quality
them prioritized anymore.
This is it. This is the quality-driven piece. That when
they're all the same thing.
I know that. That's what I'm saying. Is that when and this is me speaking for me, when I am tuned into the quality and essence of what I want to generate and create, and I need rituals and practices to help me stay anchored in that. I look forward to the day when it's just a open-ended mystery thing that I'm still feel like I'm directing a lot on the back end, and yet. When I'm tuned into all that, when I'm clear about it, then any little expression is just as good as the next. If I can sort of move my ego aside and sort of allow this to be organic, I find these qualities being expressed in myriad ways. Interaction with the woman at Starbucks, interaction with this little thing I created. Look, that was just me goofing off. But that's everything that I want to generate and create on an essence and quality level. That's what I think we're talking about.
That's so beautifully put. That is...
that's my life as art.
That is how I feel about my life at this point.
That's
now,
it.
I understand that that is the result of a certain phase of, I'm at a certain time in my life when the soul expresses in different ways during different periods of life, and I'm almost 60 years old, and I'm at a time that is being called in the West a midlife. I'm not in crisis, but I'm certainly I certainly have a new sense of what is possible, and I have a sense of where I'm going, and I have a sense of where I've been, and they're not really the same. So it is more a function of my own growth and where I am in my life than, not more a function, but as much a function of that. And I'm blessed to have maximized where I am in terms of the soul trajectory of my life. And I have more access at this point than I did at earlier times in my life to a larger view, and one that holds the whole of the life as an act of creation, and not that I have to make a painting or draw a picture or cook a nice meal, and that's the work of art. Anyway, off on my favorite ramp, so I'm going to break it off because I think we've run out of time.
We have, but thankfully the conversation will continue for those who want to tune in next week. And, of course, you can always see our work at cuttingedgeconsciousness.com. Please join us on Facebook. And if you enjoy the show, please share it with friends.
Like us on Facebook. We like to be liked.
It always says that.
I always say that.
And keep going back.
I still like to be liked.
To Cutting Edge Consciousness.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for listening.